music hits. And they were more so looking for those house music hits and trying to create those house music hits with, you know, JVC Force also on their agenda. But that wasn't our ultimate style. And that wasn't going to be a style that was really taken by the fans. You know, we turned around and we went to, it led us after that, you know, we did that album with that. And then after that, you know, it led Stretch Armstrong to us.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. Tell everybody how Stretch played a role in the JVC Force's career right after your sophomore album, going into your third album.
Yeah. Used to see Stretch around like the Soho area in Manhattan. Because I used to hit the streets a lot, maybe at times like around like 4 to 5 times a week coming out of Long Island, you know, paying that toll all the way in Manhattan and going down into Soho and stuff to the clubs like Amazon, Earth, The World, stuff like that, hanging around Alphabet City. Um, but Stretch was a DJ at the time, Skinny Bones, had a radio show at Columbia University with Bobito the Barber. He was a DJ in the clubs. He had just landed a deal to work with Big Beat Records. And I seen him in the club and he said, you know, when I have a meeting with y'all, he was like, you know, JVC Force is like my favorite group at the time. He said that. He said, I wanna put y'all Big Beat. You know, we sat down with a meeting, we had the song. And as a result of it, you know, that's how Big Tracks came about. Um, Big Tracks was executive produced by Stretch Armstrong for all that don't know. Uh, and it was for Big Beat Records. We're on Big
You guys were the first group on Big Beat, right?
Us and a group called the Double X Posse.
Okay, I'm not gonna be able to do it.
Yeah, nah, baby, I ain't gonna be able to do it.
Okay.
Not that I could do it, but I can't go through it. Yeah, us and the Double X Posse was the first groups on Big Beat Records. It was new for them also because Big Beat Records was a label that was it was a dance label. You know, they had groups like Tara Kemp, Jomanda, you know, big records, you know, but just a dance label looking to have a hip hop division. Craig Kellman was the president of Big Beat at the time, but the vice president of Atlantic Records at the time, and he was looking to expand his brand into hip hop. You know, he didn't have the ear for it, but he hired Stretch, and Stretch was his A&R, and Stretch chose JVC Force, and that's how JVC Force came into play with Big Beat Records. And Big Beat Records actually brought our contract out from Warlock.
So how much of the third album was completed that didn't see the light of day? And where is that album and will it be released in the future?
That album was actually fully recorded. Um, Big Tracks was released, of course, with a single, with the as a single, but with a B-side on it also. But the album, for the most part, I had possession of the songs, and I had possessions of the material. Basically, I was always a person who, when I went into the studio, I wanted a copy of everything. I got my reels. I got a couple of reels. You know, I got some ADATs. I got my acetates. You know, I have all the unreleased stuff. As far as that album was fully recorded, and Big Tracks was the first single on the album. Um, but that album was perhaps, in my opinion, when I listen back, one of the most rawest JVC albums because, again, hip hop was going into a popish field by that time, 92. And that album was deliberately intended to, we had literally, we staked out about 14 beats that was never heard before or not used. And we really went in on those songs. Like, you know, the internet will see songs like We Got Our Own Thing. Um, the fusion and the scratching of that song alone, when that song was actually recorded, um, it was recorded years and years ago. We went ahead to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this out. The internet got a hold of that. Some of the record labels got a hold of it and they put it out. But that was a song that was intended to be on the third album. But even with We Got Our Own Thing, you can see where we were more deliberate. It was like we were going against the edge deliberately of where the music industry was trying to go. We were in love with beats. We listened to beats. The value of beats and a DJ scratching never went away in JVC world. It's never something, we never presented a show with an ADAT or anything like that, you know? So we put our work in, but, again, things were changing. And that album, again, was deliberately intended to go against the grade. It was a raw album. And the label at that time, they weren't willing to give us all of the creative control that we normally would have. And the labels now were structuring where if they were going to give you more money, they wanted creative control. And so everything now became a fight that I wasn't used to, you know. Um, we we were sent at times to producers, one in particular, and he wanted to do a popish kind of song, and the whole session for 5 to 6 hours, it was just about doing vocals that never really sounded the way he wanted it to come out in his ear. And I'm like, because it's not us. JVC went into the studio and did songs in an average of 3.5 hours. Finished, completed, mixed, and mastered. Dropped on quarter inch. We never went up in the studio and spent like, no 14 hours and stuff recording no one song with a slow engineer. Kurt zapped everything up. We ran the loop and, we was ready to go. After we put the lyrics down, you know what I mean? We go ahead and it's like, we add the scratches and then we do the ad libs and then we mix. But within 3.5 hours, we're done. Because again, we're structured to where we never stopped routining on the block. All through the years, all through growing up, all through high school, all through coming home from college, all through them visiting me at college, me coming home, visiting them, we were freestyling. Any road trips going on the road or anything to do shows, freestyling was always a part of it. It was just part of the life. We just kicked it and just had fun. Sometimes the freestyles were silly because silly things happen, but it was a part of the camaraderie growing up with our crew. Big up the Branch Ave Posse, which is basically a crew of people that we grew up with in our surrounding areas. That was the crew at the time of JVC. Every block had a crew. Branch Ave Posse was our crew. So big shout out for everybody in Branch Ave Posse. They were also a staple of growing up. But again, the structures, the structures of things, we weren't going to, things started getting a little bit heated because it wasn't a situation that when you make a certain amount of songs that that the people want and that people are listening to, and you're using people's judgment as to how the songs sound. It's one thing for the label to turn around and tell you, hey, we need a song that sounds like this song. So I felt like my artistry and the stuff that I wrote, and I felt like, Kurt felt like too, and I felt like the stuff that also AJ, we all felt like the things that we worked on, it was good enough to be put out. But the label was saying, oh no, that's kind of hard, and oh, you rap too long and we need to put more choruses in. No, it's not how it's supposed to go. And you're trying to take control, but it's a different than taking control, but you're trying to rip my song apart and make me sound like something else that I'm not. And that led to, if we're going to play this game, I'm not going to turn around and allow you to change me. So this is where the one way comes in. And, at that point in time, whatever the structure of JVC was, it was going away because I personally was not going to record in the studio and turn into a pop artist. You know, I had loved hip hop.
So,
Huh? No, I had
so
loved,
the
I had loved
go
hip.
ahead.
Yeah, I had loved hip hop, but I didn't love it enough to change myself for it because I felt like I was a part of it through lifestyle. So I never took on like a certain kind of, I never did certain things. But for me, because I was a part of hip hop and it was a part of my life and I loved it, I wasn't going to allow somebody to turn me into a puppet show or some radio personality. I was simply good with the underground stations and all. I never needed to have no hit playing during the day, you know.
So is it accurate to say that the big beat situation led to the demise of the JVC force?
Yeah, well, the thing is with us as guys, growing up, we did have our differences like any other friends had and stuff like that. Um, but there was also always things that went on with us, as friends in the crew, and the frustrations that came from constantly bringing things down to the label and it not being what it wanted to be. It probably played the most role in us saying, you know what, I can't really be bothered with this no more. This is what If this is what's working up to a major label is all about. There's a certain amount of integrity that an artist like wants to turn around and have. And as I was growing up, and even for the people that I grew up with, Central Islip, the Brentwood area, the Wyandanch, Amityville, Bayshore, Deer Park, Riverhead, even Coram, Amityville, Roosevelt, Freeport, Hempstead, never bred no friendliest rap groups to that degree. The closest thing that came to a friendliest rap group, but was damn wicked because they wicked lyrically and their concept was just refreshing, was De La Soul. But Long Island wasn't known to be we ain't no puppet show. Long Island ain't no puppet show for the industry. We want to make that clear. It took a lot to turn around and to have Strong Island to be recognized. The people hold pride in coming from there. The people hold pride in the name when somebody say Strong Island and they're not from there, and you from there, and you see, people take pride, but we're not a puppet show. So we get it, but on the same note, if you can't work with us, we can't work. We can't work. And there were things that were going on at the time. Kurt had some other groups and he was doing some other stuff. Naturally, he was working at the studio at the time, and you know, his direct attention wasn't directly on JVC at the time, and there was a lot of things that friendship wise, frustrated the group. Um, there was rifts between him and AJ at times. I was in the middle of it, but the one thing I'm going to say is, as friends and knowing each other for the amount of years we knew, Long Island gives you a certain kind of character. We never turned around and released our anger publicly towards each other and stuff because, again, there's still friends. You know, I don't speak to, Kurt as much as I speak to AJ and have, as much direct contact, but I know how to reach Kurt and I have his numbers and I've spoken to him. You know, we're both busy and we have things to do. AJ's busy, but the thing is that no matter what we go through, there's a certain amount of privacy that, we're going to have as grown men. And again,
Right.
we never let our stuff out and we never did that. But we had ups and downs like everybody else.
No doubt. Instagram is going to cut us off in 5 minutes. So if you want to do me a favor, we're going to log off and then log back on because I don't want to end the interview like that. So we're going to go a little bit longer if you don't mind.
No problem.
So everybody log back on in about 2 minutes. I'm going to log off because Instagram, of course, only gives us an hour. So just meet us back here in about a minute or two. So I'll see you in a minute.
Got you.